8 generations in, guys, we have so many starter Pokemon to go over, but we got a rank list coming. Let's hit it. Alright everyone, here we have our ranked list, nice standard community rank list of all the starter Pokemon from Gen 1 to Gen 8. We have our 5 tiers here, our God tier, top tier Pokemon, regardless whether we're talking competitive, aesthetics, looks, or just beauty in general. We got A, we got B, we got C, and we have why does this even exist? Please end the game immediately. We're gonna get started right here from the top. Starting off, we got our boy Venusaur, and I am extremely biased as a Gen 1 player when it comes to Venusaur. Venusaur was one of my favorite Pokemon, still is the Bulbasaur line. It has gotten only better as the years have gone by. It's super strong. This generation obviously is running Chlorophyll. It's got Weatherball. It's super strong in the competitive meta. It's shiny, makes it look like a huge sunflower. It's great. It's awesome. We're going to stick that one right up in A tier. It does have a good chunk of weaknesses across the board, and while being bulky without Chlorophyll and its speed tier, it's not the fastest Pokemon, but the Gigantamax of it sure does look beautiful. Next up, we're going to pick on Charizard here. Charizard obviously has so many gosh darn forms at this point, I don't even know what to do with it anymore. Do you build it special? Do you build it physical? Do you Gigantamax? Did you have a Mega X, a Mega Y? It's just, it's the best Pokemon per the popularity standpoint. From a competitive meta standpoint, the fire flying typing isn't awful. The worst case that you have is it has a good chunk of weaknesses when it comes to water, electric, rock, etc. For competitively speaking, while very strong with the large amount of weaknesses it has, it doesn't put it in the God tier in my opinion, but it would sit nice and solidly right next to Venusaur in that A tier. After that, we got our Shell Blaster, our Shell Shocker, and Blastoise. Blastoise never really kept up with its Gen 1 counterparts here. It's always been super strong. Gene X Cannonade now with Gen 8, super great when it comes to the competitive play to get that damage over time going. It's bulky. It got a couple extra moves with like Rapid Spin and Fake Out and the Pulses, Water Pulse, Dark Pulse, etc. But it just never really holds a damaging candle in comparison to its previous counterparts. So we're going to stick that one in the B tier. I think it's a solid B. Blastoise pretty great overall, but not the best. Alright, leading into Gen 2, we'll start with the one I always started with. We're going to start with Typhlosion. Typhlosion, super great Pokemon. It's beautiful, it's shiny, doesn't give too much to the imagination, it's just a little off color, but it's still very pretty looking Pokemon overall. It's got pretty good moves in like Lava Plume and Eruption at the time. Obviously, it has not made its way up to Gen 8 yet, so we do have to dock it a little bit for being currently viable and popular in the world, but still not a bad Pokemon overall. I'm going to stick it right up in the B tier. I think it's a good spot there. Good damage, good aesthetics, very pleasing, and one of the best starters for Gen 2. Next up, we're going to talk about Meganium. Meganium is a tanky monster. If you guys have ever played the original Gen 2 or the remakes in Heart Gold or Soul Silver, you found out this thing could get double screens, it could just sit out there, max health, just sit there tanking lots of damage, but not very offensive. On top of that, everybody tends to hate Meganium in its popularity contest. Chikorita, adorable. Bayleaf, kind of weird looking. Meganium, kind of tanked. So we're talking it a little bit further. I personally liked Meganium overall, but being unbiased about this decision, this is going in why does this even exist, because it just didn't do well overall. Poor Meganium, first one, bottom of the barrel, we wipe it off, and we keep going. Next up, we got Alligator. Alligator, an awesomely strong Pokemon, especially in the remakes of Heart Gold and Soul Silver, with being able to get those jaw moves like Ice Fang and really put in some maximized amounts of damage. Sheer force on it, wicked strong. Obviously, competitively speaking, we don't see it in Gen 8 as of yet, but still such a strong, beautiful water type Pokemon. Its shiny leaves a little bit to be desired here, but it's not the worst in the world, and it's not hated like the Meganium is hated from a popularity standpoint. I'm gonna dock it into C just because it doesn't keep up with the generations as they've evolved, but still a fantastic water type Pokemon. After that, we start with the Megas, and the Megas are really important here in Gen 3 because I think they definitely define which Pokemon were the better Gen 3 starters here. First off, we're talking Sceptile. Sceptile, obviously a strong grass type overall. It's got those physical grass type moves like Leaf Blade. It can also run special sets as well, and its Mega is really adapted to running a special set, and it does so much damage. It gets those pulse moves like Dragon Pulse. It's just super strong when you Mega Evolve this thing. Definitely pulling it out of the C tier in my opinion and dropping it as a solid B tier Pokemon. Obviously, we don't see it in the current generation, so it's never going to hit God tier, but it's still very strong of a grass type overall. After that, we have the first of the Kicking Fiends and the Fighting Fire types that come in, and you're going to see up and down here this kind of be a bit of a volley for the firefighting types, as we have essentially 3 coming back to back to back. Blaziken, super strong. Its Mega made it even stronger. With Speed Boost, it just made it an impossible competitive monster. It was super great when you were playing through on any of your games, but didn't have the greatest popularity in the world. Obviously, it had a big boost at the start, but towards the end of Heart Gold, Soul Silver, when you thought about it from the popularity standpoint, we did see most people trending in Sceptile's direction. So we're going to give it a solid C. It's not bad, it's good competitive, it's a great Pokemon, but it just didn't do it at an overall standpoint. Following that up, we have Marshtomp. Marshtomp, obviously, our little Mudkip evolution. It's beautiful, shiny, in a nice superior pinkish color, was always pretty great. Not competitively the best. Obviously, as I said before, competitive being a piece of this. It's not as strong as a lot of the upper tier picks here. It's also Mega didn't do much of anything for it. It did make it stronger, but it just didn't really, it just didn't help it in the slightest. So we're going to drop that in the C tier. If I put another tier here, it'd be the D tier, and that would be sitting in D tier just overall. Alright, off to Sinnoh. For Sinnoh, we have Torterra in the start. Torterra is a beautiful grass type. Definitely got some vibes from Venusaur there in making its big turtle shell-like landscape appearance on the top. It gets a lot of good physically offensive moves, but it, competitively speaking, is just not good. Its shiny also is slightly off-color green. It really didn't give anything to surprise anybody from it when it came to its shiny form and its stats and prowess overall, so we're going to stick this one solidly in C tier as well. After that, we got Infernape. Infernape getting a beautiful red color in its shiny form. Much more red, much more primal looking in my opinion. No Megas obviously this generation, but at the same time, Infernape's prowess in competitive really came to fruition as it got moves like Fake Out and Flare Blitz, and you could actually run a special set as well on it and go with the Fire Blast set, and it was a very balanced Pokemon to go on either side of this coin to be able to either do massive support and then damage, or massive damage and then help out the team accordingly. I'm going to give Infernape a solid B tier, though you could argue up to A depending on how other things sort of land on the chart. There's a lot I have to say about Empoleon. I loved Piplup. Piplup and even Prinplup were okay Pokemon overall. Empoleon obviously getting that steel water typing, making it an interesting kind of hard thing to play around, but it was never strong competitively speaking. It did okay. It never did awful, it never did great. But you really had a few occurrences where you'd ever see Empoleon actually being used in the competitive meta. Also, on top of this, we have its mediocre stats, less than adequate shiny form with just a lighter blue coloring overall, and it just didn't do anything from a popularity standpoint, unlike its pre-evolution. Piplup, loved. Empoleon, not so much. As much as I can't detriment the entire line for this, we're going to put Empoleon on why did this even exist. Probably should have been remade. Sorry, buddy. Maybe next time. Alright. Into Gen 5. Gen 5 had the interesting hidden abilities on these Pokemon, so I'm going to actually start with Superior here, just because I think Superior was one of the best Pokemon when it came to its weird competitive set that you could run with Contrary. The ability Contrary, obviously, for any time it uses a move that debuffs, like Leaf Storm, that debuffs your special attack, it would actually increase it. So you really could have a great setup Superior set with moves like Leaf Storm, or moves that ultimately detriment the Pokemon's defenses, and it really made it so that you could actually lead in with this thing, click Leaf Storm, and then just start stacking your damage overall. Very strong Pokemon, very beautiful shiny with its more yellow-like coloring. I'm going to give Superior a solid A-tier finish. It obviously currently hasn't made the current gen, but if it did, I think Contrary Superior would be running our meta right now. Finally, we're rocking emboar. Emboar obviously super strong, definitely well played in the competitive meta. It's blue shiny flames on it, definitely something to be looking out for. It was not the strongest, again, we're not talking apples and oranges here. It's not Charizard at the same time, it's not Blaziken either, but definitely a very strong fighting fire core in it. We did see a lot of usage of it. The shiny form, as I said, just something to die for, so we're going to give that a solid A-tier finish as well. Samurott, they ruined. They just flat out ruined this Pokemon. Oshawott, great start. Duat, still great start. Samurott, what the hell happened to this thing? Is it supposed to be a samurai? Is it supposed to be something else? We don't know. And it falling to 4 legs definitely was a big detriment to it. Its stats are okay. It's got okay moves as well. It wasn't bad competitively speaking, but they just ruined the evolutionary line. Solid C tier. We're moving on. Chestnut, obviously awesome looking Pokemon. It has that signature move in Spiky Shield to block moves and also do some barb damage to it essentially in return. It's got very good defensive stats and health stat overall, but again, competitively speaking, you didn't see too much of Chestnut. So we're going to give it a solid B tier. Still a great Pokemon. Its shiny still phenomenal, but not much used besides the playthrough. We have Delphox. Delphox obviously running moves like Mystical Fire. It's super strong. Its shiny is beautiful in color. And from a competitive standpoint, it didn't do too bad. It wasn't the best Pokemon overall, but it was competitively used in tournaments and actually did have a showing overall. So we're going to put that in the B tier. I think it wasn't, again, one of the best Pokemon here, but it was used very well in competitive. Last Pokemon of Gen 6 coming up. We have Froakie into the Greninja line. Greninja was super strong. We can't say anything less than this in regards to, oh god, Ash Greninja in the meta was the most demonic, strong Pokemon we'd ever seen, to the point where we weren't able to run it anymore. Greninja, great stats, great speed stat, great moves like Water Shuriken, super strong Pokemon overall in the meta, used very commonly, and its black coloring in its shiny form is something to die for. This Pokemon was the cream of the crop for Gen 6. It was used by so many people. I am going to tentatively give that the God tier unless we see something outscale it. Alright. Off to the islands of Alola. First up, we got Decidueye. Decidueye, I think its shiny could have done a little better in coloring overall, but it still was pretty clean. Obviously, got great moves like Spirit Shackle and Sucker Punch. It's great in the competitive meta, but not amazing. We also see it pale in comparison to its Fire-type partner, so we're going to give it a solid B tier. I think it did okay overall, but was never amazing when it came to the competitive meta. Following shortly on that one, we have Incineroar. Guys, if I need to tell you about Incineroar, you're probably going to be surprised here. Strongest Pokemon in the competitive meta, currently banned in Series 6 on Sword and Shield because it's that strong. It has great moves, it is great in its shiny form with the white and red coloring. It is a beautiful Pokemon, super popular in the competitive game, and also just in general in Alola. We're going to give that tentatively God tier as well, but definitely out of the ranking of 2 of them, I'm going to say it's Incineroar probably on the top there. As much as personally, I don't like it very much. And finally, we have Primarina. Primarina actually been doing a bit better as the games have gone on, moving from Sun to Ultra Sun to Sword and Shield. It became relatively popular when it got its hidden ability Liquid Voice to be able to do those water-type moves with bigger hits like Boom Burst and such. It's got a great signature move in Sparkling Aria, and it's a beautiful Pokemon overall. Very well designed, it's shiny, very clean with the yellow coloring on it. I'm going to give that a solid A tier. And we're down to our final 3 now. We have the boys and girls from Sword and Shield. Let's start with Rillaboom. Rillaboom shiny, lackluster. Not gonna deny it. It is okay at best. It gets more golden yellow in coloring, but I really think they should have went in more of like a fall colors reddish direction. It's very popular, again, another one of the banned Pokemon from the competitive meta currently. Its moveset, phenomenal. Its hidden ability to set up that Grassy Surge, fantastic. I see this Pokemon as soon as it comes back out of the ban list to be used immediately again by everybody, just because a strong signature grassy glide in grassy terrain is just something that's hard to beat. Definitely outscaling Greninja at minimum. I would put it in the God tier right up there next to Incineroar, and depending on the day, I could flip-flop on which one was best. After that, we have our Libero Cinderace coming in. Obviously, this Pokemon is a what type does it want to be Pokemon. It's phenomenal in that regard, where you can set up max airstreams and turn it into a flying type. You've got dark type with Sucker Punch. You've got a great competitive Pokemon, another banned competitive Pokemon for Series 6 coming up, just because it's that strong. Something that you should not sleep on ever. A solid Pokemon, a little frail overall, and it's shiny, a little weird and lackluster in its weird brown coloring, but not bad as a Pokemon at all. Definitely an A tier, probably front of the line, getting close to God tier, as we roll in to our final Pokemon in Inteleon. Inteleon, I think, really got the shaft this generation. It's a beautiful Pokemon. Its shiny has that beautiful pink coloring to it with its back like little cape. Its Gigantamax being up on a little sniper tower is beautiful. I think they definitely kind of sort of pulled it back from being a much more cool sniper like spy Pokemon, and definitely from a moveset standpoint, it's probably got the worst of the three signature moves from a Gigantamax. Definitely a cool looking, definitely beautiful Pokemon overall. Not the most popular though, and not the strongest competitively speaking. So we're going to end up with a solid B tier here. I'm going to say probably middle of the pack, put it right next to Infernape a little bit. Alright, we're down to 3 in the top. We got to figure out which one's the best here. So let's take a look at them. And we have Incineroar, we have Rillaboom, and we have Greninja. All 3 strong contenders. I'm going to say Rillaboom loses in the looks in category here. So tentatively, when we talk about looks, I think Greninja actually is the front line here for looks. Now, this isn't the total end here. Competitively speaking, Incineroar beats both of these Pokemon out. It was just so strong, whether you're running offensive, defensive, support sets. It was just something that could not be stopped. And finally, when it comes to popularity, I think I speak for all 3 of them here when all 3 were very popular, but I still think Incineroar overall beats that one out. Not the most popular Pokemon, which is sitting down here in A tier, but overall, I think we're going to sit at Incineroar being our top God tier, with Greninja and Rillaboom sitting just behind it, but still not the God tier Pokemon. There you guys have it. That is our tier list. Those are all the starters, Gen 1 through all the way into Gen 8. That's our tier list for the strongest, the best, the most beautiful, and the most popular Pokemon overall, with Incineroar on the top, and poor Meganium and Empoleon down there at the bottom. They need a remake. They need something else done, but that's where we leave it. I hope you guys enjoyed that tier list. If you want to give it a shot below and tell me what you think, definitely take a look down in the comments section. You guys will see the tier list. I will link it for you down there. Also, make sure you're clicking that subscribe button up here if you liked our tier lists. We can do some more of them depending on what type of listing you guys want to do. Obviously, make sure you check out our other videos up here on this side. That's the one that YouTube thinks you're going to like most. We'll catch you all for the next one. Peace.